How corrupt is AAU today? What is the evolution of corruption over the last 20 years? And what are the negative effects of shoe companies funneling money into the system? The only question left is, say it with me, you in? Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown Podcast. Today I am pleased to bring on a very special guest. His name is Jag. And he's an LA recording artist. If you want to follow him on Instagram, it is Jag, J-A-G. And don't ask how he got that handle from Instagram. But he's also a former AAU coach and a former AAU player in the LA area, which is why I wanted to bring him on, because I thought it would be an interesting conversation to talk a little bit about the evolution of AAU and I guess, quite frankly, how corrupt it could be.
Yeah.
So, Jack, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's rare that we have somebody in studio, so it's great to actually have this conversation in face-to-face.
Yeah.
So let's go back to your playing days. I mean, you're 6'5", you got some size on you. Mm-hmm. You played AAU when you were growing up, right?
Yeah, definitely. I played for Amir I Can, Coach Rock, and I'm trying to remember the legendary football player. Oh, Jim Brown.
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown. Jim Brown owned the team.
Really?
Yeah.
So what year was that around?
That was like 02, 03.
Okay, so Jim Brown.
I played with like Trevor Ariza and Bobby Brown that plays for the Rockets, along with Trevor Ariza, Hassan Adams. I played with those guys.
So when you were playing AAU back then, how often did you practice?
Every day.
Every day?
Every day.
Okay, so once, I guess school got out, you were there every day, or even at night?
Nighttime, weekends, every day. We play basketball every day.
Now, compare that to how AAU is run now. I kind of feel like they don't practice every day. Do you feel like when you were coaching recently?
No, they definitely don't practice every day. It's a little different now. With politics, you got stars, and the kids who don't have the silver spoon, those are the ones who practice every day. You know what I mean? You got your stars. They live like stars now. It's different. A high school kid can almost live like an NBA player if he's a star, So the lifestyle is different now, you know what I mean? They got YouTube and everything. Everybody's famous. Back then you had maybe one or two guys that were on YouTube that was, actually making a name for themselves. Brandon Jennings and the OJ Mayos, those are the guys we were watching, the Bill Walkers, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they kind of actually started this whole little trend, you know what I mean, of the kids being stars, becoming stars on the internet, and that changed a whole bunch of kids' lifestyles, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So how would that have happened when you wanted to when they became a star on the internet? They posted a video somewhere back then, and then they kind of went viral?
Yeah, or back then the players wouldn't post the video, somebody else will post it, or it was like YouTube is an amazing thing. Actually, it was amazing to see like Brandon Jennings. I believe Brandon Jennings was probably one of the first guys on the internet that actually went into frenzy. His Oak Hill days, he had an amazing highlight tape. So I mean, it was I don't think it was the players that was doing it, but it was the people, whoever the people was that like I'm gonna put a highlight tape together for these guys that started it, and then everybody branched off and did it. You know what I mean? Which was kind of dope, and at the same time, it's a gift and a curse.
Mm-hmm. This is the bottom. Let me just move this because I feel like now it's pointing the other way. The levels are okay, but I'm gonna do it on the other side because this is where the mic is. I just want it to be right underneath. There we go.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry. All right, I'll cut that out. Let me write that down. Cut out. Okay, so it sounded a little like it's. Would you agree with the idea that maybe AAU back then was a little bit more? I don't want to say like X's and O's oriented, but it did sound like maybe it was more of a team where you actually worked. Did you work on like offense? Did you guys actually play an offense?
AAU was back when I was playing, not coaching. When I was playing, it was more about developing. You know what I mean? A lot of players was joining AAU, so they can get looks, and the teams were teams. You had a full team, like it wasn't a team of 12 stars. Back when I was playing AAU, we might have had 1-2 stars, and the rest of the players were players that played on the team somewhere, and they're at their high school and just trying to get a look. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That changed when I became a coach years later. We had 6-7 stars. I coached for SCA, Southern Cal All-Stars. So we had Brandon Jennings, we had Kevin Love, we had Taylor King, all on the same team. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Man, that was a reckless team, but it was, so many egos and stuff like that. And then you look at players that were stars like Taylor King, and then you see how his career went down the line. But I truly believe that his career went down the line because he became a star too fast.
Okay, so now you said reckless, that team with Kevin Love and those guys. Like, what does that mean exactly?
Well, I mean, far as extremely good players being all on the same team. You know what I mean? And that was a problem when I was coaching. A lot of teams were complaining about the superstar teams. You know what I mean? It was almost like the NBA. That's what I'm saying. Like high school became like the NBA, where 7 5-star players ended up on the same AAU team. And, that's when they made the rule, because back when I was in AAU, it wasn't a rule where you couldn't be from out of state and play, on an AAU team. You could come from anywhere throughout the United States and play on the AAU team. But you see people started building up superstar teams. This guy from Connecticut and he's from here, and put him on a California team. That's when the rules came in. The rules changed. Okay, no, you can only be a cousin state. You know what I mean? So if you're in California, it can only be a Nevada or Arizona that can play on the California team, because people were cheating and building up these teams. And I mean, and that builds egos, man. Taylor King, he was one of the players that I watched that didn't work hard like Brandon Jennings did. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now I remember, have you read that book, Playing Their Hearts Out? That George Thurman book about, and now I'm forgetting who it is about. It's right in your era. I'll have to look it up. But the point being that what he observed was that at some point, like maybe the pressure got so great, the hype was so hot, that he just sort of didn't want to engage with any other high-rated star on the court. He was afraid that would lower his ranking, and he wouldn't want to, go at him again or actually compete.
Yeah.
Is that what you would see as well, where guys would get too concerned with their ranking and be afraid that like any turnover, any missed shot would like cause it to drop?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, I've seen kids not want to play against certain teams because they felt they were too good for them. You know what I mean? Where I felt like, hey, you should play every game. Mm-hmm. You're not in the NBA yet. You're not in college yet. You should be playing every game. It shouldn't be a point in your high school career where you should say, I don't want to play against this team because they're not good enough. You know what I mean? I seen so much stuff going on with the AAU, man. It's crazy how they, I coached the team. I don't want to drop any names. One of the guys, the guy who I'm talking about, he ended up making it to the NBA. Good friend of mine. We still talk, so I don't want to say his name. But I was coaching for this team, and I literally seen the coach tell 11 players, don't shoot the ball. Mm-hmm. This guy is going to be ranked. He wasn't ranked yet. But our coach knew, this guy's going to be ranked, and he's the star. He got the green light. Nobody else shoot. Anybody complain, you sitting on the bench. And, I was a coach on that team, so, of course, I wasn't going to go against my boss. But at the end of the day, I did feel a certain type of way about that because we had good players on that team. And to see how the politics went, he had Adidas watching us, and he wanted that money. Adidas was like, we're going to give you a certain amount of money if this player can do what he's supposed to do on the court. So, of course, the coach is thinking, money. Okay, so I'm going to tell the whole team, this player is going to shoot all the shots. I don't care if he shoots 100 shots, and that's how it ends up happening like that, and then players feel entitled. You know what I mean?
Well, trace that thought process, because the Adidas wants to give the coach the money to develop this one player to be really good. And how does that benefit Adidas?
Adidas, their name is on the team that has a star that's ranked top 5 in the nation. It's money. You know what I mean? Everything comes down to money. Adidas, now they get to go to these young players and get in the draft. Oh yeah, you see, we already got players that's coming up behind you guys. We got these players. It's easy. It's an easy pitch to get newer players to, you know what I mean, come over there. It's all money. And
I guess their ultimate goal is they get to the NBA, they're wearing their shoes, they get an endorsement deal if they had them in their camp. So that makes sense, and I think that's what's been happening, like in all the other sports, right? Like they do that in tennis from a young age. So like that doesn't necessarily even seem that evil per se, is it?
It's not, but it can be. Money is everything. You know what I mean? And some kids, and this is the thing, and it's a difference in tennis and basketball. In tennis, I don't think I've known any tennis players that were living in poverty like that. Right. You know what I mean? Basketball is it's different. You got inner city kids and kids that live in the hood and don't have a real home to actually stay in, and that's when it becomes where it can become evil, because you can get a kid to do anything or his family to do anything if they don't have any money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's wild, man.
Well, when I've heard you talk about it before, I was kind of surprised when you just described a scenario where, like, the player might not know that Adidas is paying the team. Thing, right?
Yeah. No, that's a fact. The player, he just feel good if, the coach is giving him the green light. You know what I mean? He's not going to know. We in high school. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to ask any questions. The coach tell me to take all the shots. And I feel like I could be a star. I'm going to do everything I can do. I just know our team is sponsored by Adidas. We wear a whole bunch of Adidas stuff. If I want a special pair of Adidas, they'll get it to me. You know what I mean? And in high school, you playing on the court. If you're able to tell your coach, I want my own special pair of Adidas, because I've seen this, my own colorway. I've seen kids get their own colorway while in high school.
If you're listening to this and feeling a bit old and out of touch with this young generation of ball players, you might be in the age range where we commonly see sexual performance issues. Did you know that 40% of men by age 40 struggle from those dreaded two letters, ED? You know what they stand for. And now there's real science to turn your fortune completely around. 4hims.com is your solution. A complete one-stop shop for hair loss, skin care, and sexual wellness for men. They have well-known generic equivalents to the name brand prescriptions to help you combat ED. In fact, one pill, starting with a V, just came off its patent recently. A real game changer. So avoid those embarrassing doctor's visits with all the invasive questions. Instead, get erectile without the dysfunction. Go to 4hims.com/CoachNickED and get Hims for a month for just $5 while supplies last. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or pharmacy. So don't wait. That's 4hims, FORHIMS.com/CoachNickED. See website for full details and get back on the path to sexual performance. So when you were playing in AAU, I'm trying to remember, my biggest issue when I was coaching as an assistant coach in high school in the late 90s and early 2000s, it certainly wasn't like any kind of money corruption kind of thing. Uh-huh. I think we were most concerned that they just maybe wouldn't, the players wouldn't be taught the fundamentals, that kind of stuff. It would be hard to get them to play in an offense. Mm-hmm. Now, was that doesn't sound like that was the issue when you were playing in AAU then, right? No.
AAU was definitely getting you prepped for college back then when I was there.
Cut out the high school thing almost, right? Yeah. AAU was going to get you noticed, get you the scholarship. The high school was just sort of a thing you did in the winter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because that kind of changed. I think in the late, I stopped coaching in 2002 at that point, and I don't think it was quite that way. I still feel like college coaches were coming to high school games and they were talking to us a little bit. Uh-huh. I will say this: I was startled that a major Division I team a few years ago. I was at a big coaching clinic with some of the biggest coaches in college were there, uh-huh. and it was at a certain D1 school in this area. And I was shocked when I introduced one of the assistant coaches to one of the powerhouses in LA, uh-huh. High schools.
Okay.
And what was weird about that was you would have thought that any kind of mid-major or any kind of Division I school, every assistant would know every assistant coach at the high school level. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of startled that they didn't know that. Mm-hmm. So I think is that what it's telling me, is that they're just connecting to AAU and they're trying to get players placed that way.
Yeah. It's a totally different game. I mean, now AAU is able to cross out to high school. You know what I mean? It's like I said, with money you can do anything. High school coach is not going to give you no money. High school coach not going to put you and your mom up in an apartment building. It's easy to manipulate a kid now that plays for a high school, because you can have a kid that's a star but plays at a terrible high school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have an AAU coach that comes in and has money, put that kid on a team full of stars, gives his mom's money, tell this kid, don't worry about your high school games. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We're going to play AAU. We're gonna, you can do whatever you want to do in your high school games. Be, fancy, have fun, and, AAU is where it's going to make it, you're going to make it. You know what I mean?
Because when I was coaching, you couldn't transfer schools that easily. You had to move, or at least pretend that you moved.
Exactly.
I think they changed the rule recently, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Where you don't even have to really show that you moved. You could transfer for an athletic reason.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wonder how that happened. Do you have any idea how they got that rule in? I mean, maybe they just got tired of trying to penalize people or trying to police it, right?
It's happening all throughout the United States. So it's so hard to keep up with, think about all the high schools we have and junior high, basketball players are stars. Like, it's so hard to keep up with every school and to see if they're doing the right thing. And when the season starts, you end up seeing a kid who wasn't supposed to be there at this school, and it just adds up. I feel like they just got tired and was like, you know what, they're going to do it regardless.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Let's get into some real talk here about how this all things goes on, because I think that's interesting. I don't know if people really even understand. They could picture how this works as far as money and the AAUs and the shoe companies. Mm-hmm. So you were coaching an AAU team. Mm-hmm. You had obviously some talent. Like for instance, when I was at that same coaching clinic, a buddy of mine who coached at a East Coast, perennial, they have NBA players. He's like, "Hey Nick, do you want me to tell you which coaches here drop off the bags of money at our players' houses?" Uh-huh. And I really didn't even want to know. I just felt like, you know what, this, that doesn't really happen, does it? But he was serious. Can you give us a little, description? Like, how does that play out, and how did that work? Did you see that directly when you were coaching?
Yeah, I seen that directly. I mean, I had hand in it. Of course I don't want to say any names, but a couple of the coaches that I, coached for, I had to go collect things like cars or money from the players that didn't want to show up to practice or games, and they were stars. These coaches put money into their families. You know what I mean?
Wait. So you're saying if they didn't follow through, they didn't make whatever they were.
Yeah, or you find out a kid. This happens all the time. You give a kid some money, or you give his family some money, and then another team that has bigger stars give him the same thing. He's going to keep the money that you gave him and still go play with the other team, because of course it's illegal. So it's not like you going to go to the press and telling yourself that you gave money to this kid. His parents know that, so it's like a win-win. You keep the money twice. You know what I mean, and go play for an even better team. And then we go to a tournament, and we wondering why our kid is not there. Well, where's our star at? And we go on the court, and he's playing with another team. So that's when, okay, hey, go get the car we gave him. Go get the money that we gave him.
Well, how is that common?
Definitely.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, and it sounds like I've heard that sort of story.
Since Tyson Chandler days.
Really?
Yeah, Tyson Chandler was a phenomenon out here, 7 foot at 15. You know what I mean? I remember Tyson Chandler riding around in trucks and all type of stuff. 19th grade, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Wait, when you say truck, you mean like
SUVs,
Escalade or something?
Yeah. Tahoe. Back then it was Suburbans and Tahoes. You know what I mean? That was the famous trucks back then. Yeah, I mean, he lived like a star. I don't know who took care of him like that, but he lived like he was a real star before he got to the NBA.
And that's all AAU just giving him money. Yeah. Now, did he jump? I don't even remember at this point. We could probably. It's fact. We know if he jumped around. Did he stay in the same team? Didn't he?
Yeah.
So he had some sort of weird sense of loyalty, I guess, or back then maybe that was more prevalent.
The team I ended up coaching Brandon Jennings for, SCA. That was the team. He was on SCA before I got there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess they SCA is no longer. But I guess they took care of him pretty good.
So, like, you're talking about, like, loyalty and getting kids to not, like, my take would be, like, well, we want to have the relationship with the coach and the players such that they don't want to leave. They like him so much, but I don't know if that will trump money, right? Yeah. So I suppose, how is it the only way to get loyalty and to get them to commit to that team is simply to be the highest bidder?
Yeah.
Wow. And again, these coaches aren't going to be the ones funding this stuff. They don't have. I mean, can you give us an idea?
No, the companies give the money, man. The companies, all the brands, they give the money for these players, and then it's up to the coach to figure out how he's going to get his team to be stars, because of the more tournaments you win, it's just like the NBA. The playoff rounds, you get a bonus, and then you win the finals, you get a big bonus. It's the same thing. The more stuff you win, the more tournaments you win, you end up winning all the tournaments. Come on. But they're gonna fork up money. Nike gonna fork up money. Reebok gonna fork up money. Whoever it is that you with, if you do what you're supposed to do, and you have a star on that team, and you win it, that's all they want.
Well, let's talk about money, and if we can, even generally, amounts. I'm kind of curious here. Like, okay, for a coach, let's say they want to keep him in the fold, and they're going to pay him. What does he get paid?
Enough to take care of himself for the whole year.
Okay, so we're probably talking like 6 figures, right?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
Okay, and so every year, kind of like they re-up or they do whatever, almost like a contract, right?
Yeah, I know some AAU coaches that's just an AAU coach for a living.
Right. Okay. Huh.
So I don't know how that works out, but
Fair enough. And they're driving something that's pretty nice. I'm assuming. All right. Okay. And they have no lack of anything that they need in their lives. What about the players? How much do they get paid?
Well, it's the thing, man. You know, it's so sad, man. Players really don't see money like that. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, some special players might get a car or something like that because he's a teenager. He might want to be able to drive around. They might give him a car, but for the most part, the parents are the ones who's taking the money, man. The kid's not really seeing the money like that. You know what I mean? The parents seeing the money, and you know, of course, they're going to act like they're giving it to the kid, you know, well, whatever they're doing with the money, whether it's paying their rent with the money or, you know, the kid really doesn't see the money like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is it like in the movies where like they're leaving bags in places and they got to go pick it up, or is it all just sort of like here's cash and I don't know, like what, is that an interesting scene?
That's real, you know. Some families, you know, want to be discreet. You know, you might want to meet somebody somewhere, drop the money out there. I don't know how they doing it now. But yeah, that could be it, or you know, yeah, you could just meet with the people and do it. You know what I mean? And some people don't care. You know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, like it's interesting because in theory, like to the letter of the law, like Adidas could pay somebody they can choose to give anybody any money, right?
Yeah.
Now there might be some notion of rules at like the AAU level, but I'm not even sure. Like what the AAU isn't even like a governing body, right? There isn't any kind of thing that's going to come down on you, and right? Like you mentioned even this recently, where you can't have more than, or you can't have out of state or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, is that really enforceable? Who is the police that's going to make sure they adhere to that? I guess the other teams are playing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, basically.
So everyone's a narc, basically.
Yeah, whoever's running in tournaments and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Whoever, that's the person. That's who's the boss.
Okay, so the tournament runners themselves or organizers need to have some semblance of like, okay, this has to be in order. Your papers need to be in order.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And again, it seems to me like if you're playing another team and they find out, they're going to turn you in, right? So maybe
definitely.
Is there a sense of that where each team is sort of, because like in the D1, like when I was a manager at Wisconsin, what I had heard and sort of seemed reasonable was that every team had a file on every other team. So if you were going to turn somebody else in, they would just turn you in right back. Yeah. So no one wanted to say anything to anybody. Is that sort of how it works?
Yeah, definitely, man. You know, nobody wants to talk. I mean, you know, some people get caught. They used to cheat a lot on age. That was the big thing when I was at AAU. Players were cheating on age. You know what I mean? Okay.
So obviously they wanted to be...
They were older. They wanted to be younger, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so like I think the most famous one might be Shabazz Muhammad. Do you remember him?
Yeah, he was a grown man. I mean, you know what? I think Shabazz might have been maybe a year over or something like that. He just looked way older than he actually was too. So that kind of intimidated people too. He had a full grown beard, you know what I mean? Right. As a teen still though, you know, so he was still 18, 19 in high school with the beard. People just looked at him like that, you know, like, oh, he's 20, you know what I mean? They wanted to put extra years on him. No, I don't care about a year or two. I mean, it does make a difference, but it doesn't. Like when Shabazz was in high school, there was a whole bunch of other stars in high school too. And he wasn't like exceptionally better than everybody like that. You know what I mean? He was good, but I didn't see him going to college. I didn't think that he was going to go to college and be like the number one player in college, you know. Right. And he was older than everybody. So it was like at that point it doesn't even matter. The kid's good. He's going to the NBA regardless. You know what I mean? But one year, I don't see a problem with that.
Interesting, because my take back even then was, you know, like maybe 17 to 18 may not be a big difference, but like 16 to 15 seems to be kind of that gets you, you know, because he might not have improved much after 16, right?
Exactly.
But he got, and maybe that's the point, and maybe his family doesn't mind. Like that's the whole point. Like he'll have probably an average NBA career at best, right? He's sort of had been struggling to hang on, and you know what? Actually, average might be kind of good for him. And I just remember this sort of a notion, and I remember seeing him at UCLA in the practices and just thinking like, this guy who had so much hype and they thought he was so good, and he just really didn't have all the skills. And I think he learned that he didn't even work very hard, I think, right? I feel like I saw an interview with him in the NBA later that said something like, oh, I didn't know I needed to be like running sprints in the off season or getting in shape, right? Like that just seems crazy to me.
Yep.
And that happens all the time, right?
All the time, man.
Every year there's somebody like that.
All the time, man. Especially that's what I'm saying. When you get treated like a star, you don't know to do all these things because you're getting treated like a star. So you got so many friends around now. You got chicks and YouTube and Instagram and so many things to keep a kid occupied now. Like, you know what I mean? When I was in high school, we didn't have cell phones. You know, if you had a cell phone, like your parents probably had a little money, you know, and you wasn't on the cell phone like that because you didn't have touch screen and doing all that, you know. It's different. Times is different, man. You know, I wish all the kids could stay focused on their game and the grades, and you know, worry about the rest later. But we got the internet. As long as the internet is here now,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I can show you books from the 1920s that complain about the kids. They're not playing hard. They don't listen to the coach. So I almost feel like, even though we have the internet, we have different things. This argument's been had, you know, for centuries probably.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious. So is the main driver of all the money, which seems to be the biggest issue here, is it it comes from the shoe companies? Does it come from anybody else?
I mean, you know, alumni from colleges.
Okay.
You know what I mean? A lot of these alumni go watch AAU to go try to help recruit.
For their school?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Those are the people with money. You know, somebody might, you know, take a liking to a kid and follow their whole high school career. We've seen that. You look at Chris Webber and all them. You know what I mean? We've seen somebody follow a player their whole high. And that was in the 90s. You know what I mean? Their whole high school career and give money and all that, and that still happens. Just some people haven't got busted. You know what I mean? But those type of people like that guy. You know, alumni from somewhere, or if not, they're not an alumni, just a super basketball fan, want to help out, want to see this kid be a star one day. Like that happens, you know. People who are diehard basketball fans. I
mean, are you aware of the historical context at UCLA and John Wooden? I mean, that whole there's a whole cloud sort of underneath the Wooden saintlyhood where and I can look it up. They had this one guy, this booster, and I'm forgetting his name. People listening are going to yell at me right now, but you know, they were all getting paid, you know, and this is in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. It's never going to stop, man. You know, I don't know if people think, you know, or slow down or it's been going on. You know, people just now getting busted, but it's been going on. You know, I can't speak for every school. I'm not going to say that every school has done something illegal. You know, you probably do have a couple true schools, but that's very rare. We know this. Even the smallest schools have tried to recruit somebody with money. We know that. You know?
Well, it's safe to say in Division I, if you want, the only really way to win is you got to be a little dirty, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm looking at CSUN, right? You know, over here in Cal State Northridge, which is a tiny school. They've never really had a successful program. They had Reggie Theus for a few years. He tried to cheat, at least academically, and they had to forfeit all 9 of their wins that one year. It didn't even work, I guess. But like that's an interesting thing because, you know, they brought in somebody else now who apparently has a history of, you know, not having a really clean program. Sounds to me like, okay, they are now willing to acknowledge we're going to have to do some different things here to build a winning program, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, man, you know, like I said, a lot of coaches been doing that, fixing grades and, you know, all that.
Well, how does the so we talked about the sort of the shoe companies, and they're the ones driving a lot of the money, whatever. But how does the D1 really come into this as far as the corruption? We've seen the FBI probe. That's probably going to get worse before it gets better. There's a lot of coaches, I'm sure, not sleeping very well right now. How does the D1 influence in corruption bleed into the AAU? As far as money and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, D1 is like the forefather. You know what I mean? They the ones who really started it. You know what I mean? Before AAU, before it was even AAU, AAU coaches got this idea from, you know, colleges. Colleges was the ones who paved the way on paying players and getting them to come to their school. You know what I mean? So yeah, they influence everything, I believe. You know, because first off, an AAU coach always wants to have a relationship with a college coach. That's the number one thing, because now you got relationships with these coaches and you can kind of finagle what players you want to be able to, you know, show them, give them looks at. You know what I mean?
And it's probably also vice versa, right? The D1 coaches need to have the connections with the AAU. I mean, I got to tell you, I interviewed for a really nice private school in LA a couple of years ago.
Okay.
The first question they asked me, the first one was, what connection to AAU programs do you have? High school, really nice private high school asked me that. I wasn't prepared for that answer, for that question, by the way. And in case you ever interview anybody out there for a high school job, probably even in the public school too, that will most likely be your first question is like, how can you get us players to come in here? And then the private schools, who can we give scholarships to to come play for us? I was startled at that point that happened. So here's the thing: the NCAA definitely has a lot more, like, the AAU level. I could see even describe this notion of like, here's the money to go play for this team. You can do that in the corner, you can do that in your house, whatever. But the colleges, I think they have more rules and more scrutiny. They might, like, when you were coaching, did you have, did you witness this kind of thing with the college thing and sort of any kind of corruption?
Yeah.
Like, how did that play out? Without turning anybody in, unless you want to right here, live.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to turn anybody in. Yeah, well, I've seen multiple schools give one player money, like the same player.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? He accepted money. Where I've seen players basically even give their verbal that I'm going to mess with you, and when I get to the NBA, I'll make this guy my agent. I've seen them fold on all that, take money and fold on. I've seen basketball coaches cry because they thought that they had a kid that was going to the NBA, and that kid he shows up on the screen. They take care of that kid all through college, and it shows up on the bottom of ESPN. So-and-so signs with the agent. But the whole time, the kid was supposed to sign with whoever you had that was an agent, so y'all could keep it all in one family. So I've seen that. I've seen coaches break down at a dinner, thinking that his life was going to be different.
Right.
And he looked on the screen and seen the name.
So I guess the idea being like he gets to represent this player, he negotiates a contract, and then I guess out of that you probably have the opportunity to represent even more players once you get your first. Yeah, I could see. I mean, listen, I'm friends with a guy who's got a nice stable of smaller time NBA players, and I could see just how by the seat of your pants you are trying to get guys on the teams and how to get them contracts and get them signed. And these teams are just jerks a lot of the time about it. So you've seen that, and certainly, like, what about the gifts and all that kind of stuff, cars and whatnot? Is that equal to money, or is it?
That's equal to money, definitely.
And what is it? Is there cars? Anything else that these kids get?
Basketball tournaments, I've seen the stars stay in suites.
Oh.
Yeah, different tournaments, different states you in. I've seen the stars. I mean, they live like they're a star. They prepare them for. The NBA, as far as how to be a star, how to live with luxury. They show them that, and that's how the kids end up getting to the NBA and be reckless. Because as soon as they get the money, they already been living reckless because ain't nobody showing them nothing. They just get them the money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So no one's out there trying to help. Like, I know the NBA has that weekend after they get drafted where they're supposed to help them talk about money and management and all that stuff. Well, let me spend 48 hours with you to lecture you on how to better handle yourself. That's not going to really work to anyway, right?
Nah, not at all.
Now, what about the kids who do make it? How are the ones? What happens to the kids who have gotten a taste of that, but seem to have a good head on their shoulders and haven't been tainted or been able to live a life that is not reckless? Like, what's the secret there? I'm trying to think who that is. Is it like Kevin Durant? Or by the way, or like I was going to say Steph Curry, but Steph Curry probably didn't get money in the AAU circuit, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, and besides, he's an NBA kid. Yeah. Who's somebody else? Who would be a better person example? I mean, like C.J. McCollum is probably another guy. The unheralded guys who make the NBA probably the ones who are the most head on their shoulders.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, definitely. C.J. had to work to get to where he was at. He was a small kid, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't think people respected him through his high school career like that, Mm-hmm. So I feel like he had a chip on his shoulder, and he had to prove himself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's a different thing. CJ that was a great example to use.
I got a better one for you because you might have played against him. How about Russ?
My little brothers played with Russ. I coached against him.
So he was not heralded, right, in high school?
No. Actually, no disrespect to Russ either. He's one of the greats now. I thought that he wasn't going to make it. I argued with my little brothers millions of times when Russ was in high school. They believed in him. I didn't see it, But let me tell you, he did have amazing work ethic.
Okay.
He had amazing work ethic. You know what I mean? But I knew kids that were just practice kids. And that, as a coach, if you see so many kids and you run through so many kids, you kind of like, you start knowing, oh, he could be good in practice. It might not be a good game time player, and that's what I thought Russell was. I thought he was one of the kids that worked out a lot. I had a lot of those kids where it looked like they had potential, but it just didn't come out. You know what I mean?
So your observation when Russ played in those games, and I don't think it means you're not talking about losing your like high school. You're talking about AAU stuff and the high competition. He didn't really show out as much as.
I mean, he did, but it was people that were real stars. You got to remember when Bill Walker was there, OJ Mayo, they were stars.
Right. Russ was not on that level.
Nah, Greg Oden, you know what I mean? We talking about stars. Like, they were actually stars. They got treated like stars. They played like stars. It was no question about it. Russell was a hard-working basketball player. He was one of those guys like, okay, this guy could be good. He might make it to the NBA, be eighth on the bench. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not thinking that he would be triple-double back-to-back years. I didn't see that.
And by the way, you still could have said that after his college career, after 2 years in UCLA. Now, but did he have that explosive, crazy athletic ability then in high school?
So, no, he literally built that. Russell wasn't an athletic freak like that. I have to take my hat off to him. He built that. He was a real gym rat. I would go up to Lusinger High, drop my little brothers off, and I would see him, with the band around his waist, with a tire attached to it, you know what I mean? Running and running through tires at the same time. Like, he was doing Army workouts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, but you must have seen him do like basketball drills too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, listen, there's no secret. When we do a lot of breakdowns of his game, and his finishing isn't always great at the rim.
Yeah.
And there's things I wonder, like, is he practicing these things? Because I do have no doubt he's a gym rat. I'm sure he's in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
My question ended up sort of.
No, it's his body, man. Like, Russell is one of the guys who single-handedly plays better than everybody because his body is ridiculous. He's in shape. He makes sure he works on his body. Him and LeBron probably the most ridiculous, specimens I've seen in the league ever. But that's how Russell was working out in high school. So I believe, when I see, okay, he got to the league and now he has the money to hire the proper people to help him actually do it for real now, and not just his high school coach. Because that was literally his high school coach showing him all that. You know what I mean? And got him looking how he's supposed to look.
I coached against Lusinger like a couple years later. Did he have that old white dude? Like
No, he had Coach Morris. Coach Morris might be. He's the coach that coached. What's the kid at Duke? The star, Marvin.
Oh, okay.
He coached. He's the head coach at that high school.
Oh, okay, all right. Because the guy that was some screaming, yelling dude. I was like, wow, I wonder if that was the guy. That coached
no.
All right. So we talked about the shoe companies giving money. We talked a little about D1 and how that works and doesn't work. I mean, it's pretty much blatant, and there's going to be either a fallout with the FBI stuff. What about like PEDs? Does that stuff occur in AAU? Do you see that kind of thing? Are guys willing to do that to their bodies to improve?
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen it?
Nah, these kids are freak of nature now by themselves. I don't know if it's in the food, but they learning younger. They're already coming fully equipped now. You know what I mean? I haven't seen any kids do any type of anything to enhance themselves yet. They all feel like when you're a star in high school, naturally, it's a different type of high. You know what I mean? You feel like you don't need that. You laugh at the guys who need that when they, the older guys who do that, because you feel like you untouchable. Right. High school, you dunking on everybody. You know what I mean?
Who needs a foam roller?
Man, why you need that? I don't see. I don't know too many kids that were stars that wanted to. Oh, I need enhancement to be better.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay, fair enough. And also, that could be an expense thing too. Yeah. Although at this point, if they are getting money, maybe they could handle that. But your main concern, I think, as we wrap this up, it would be if a kid who doesn't have anything, all of a sudden overnight. And by the way, how old are these kids when they start to get the benefits of the AAU stuff, the money and the
oh man, you could be 13.
Yeah. So okay, a kid doesn't have anything, comes from a really tough background. Overnight, he's getting hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. His whole life changes. So what happens there? What becomes? So can you give us an insight into because obviously I can't pretend to know what that's like. So all of a sudden is an entitlement thing? They suddenly think that everything should be given to me, and I don't have to work hard. Like what? Help me figure out what that is and what makes it a problem.
Like I said earlier, it's a gift and a curse with that, because the kid can change up and feel like I need this, and I've ran into players like that. You want to recruit a player, you go, ask him, where he's going to school. You want him to come to the practice and try out. What shoes you guys wearing? What can you get me?
Right.
You know what I mean? This team over here giving me this and this. I had kids tell me stuff like that all the time.
Right.
Basically, like you can't do nothing for me. I don't want to go. So you definitely can turn into that.
And that is too bad. I mean, I think we would like to think that kids, have enough of they're not molded yet, where they would think, I want to go there because I will get better.
Exactly.
I want to go there because this guy's a stand-up guy who's going to treat me right and help me on my path. Instead, the question is, I only go there because I'm going to get more stuff from him.
Yeah.
And I think the other problem then is they might get more stuff, but then not actually develop as a basketball player.
Exactly.
Right. Now, is there a connection between the people that pay the most and the lack of basketball knowledge? Is that a direct connection or not? Or are there people who are kind of giving out money, but also, they're great coaches too?
A little bit of both.
Okay, you found both?
Yeah, a little bit of both, man. It varies, man. It really varies on the player. You know what I mean? All these players are different. You got some kids that take it serious, and some kids that don't. And you give them a little green light, and then you can see the real them, come out. But you can also give the green light to a kid who actually wants to change his lifestyle and his game changes and everything. You know what I mean? I've seen that before, where kids didn't have a name, and then they did get a taste of that lifestyle, and they didn't get cocky. They just wanted more of it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They wanted more for their family. You know what I mean? Still a humble kid. Wasn't asking for anything. Whatever the coaches give him, he's going to accept.
Right.
You know what I mean? But he wasn't cocky. He wasn't,
Okay.
Yeah, and that kid ended up making it to the league, the kid I'm speaking on too. So.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're right, because I guess for every one story that really kind of crashed and burned, there could be, I don't know if it's 1-to-1, but there's stories where guys, they were able to live in the system and leverage what they wanted to get what they needed and help their families, but still come out and, good people. I think that's the point, right?
Yeah.
But it's hard, right? It must be really hard to be able to maintain someone's, having to still be a good person in the face of a 13 or 14-year-old getting all this money and all this hype, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, and it also must be what's harder to stay level-headed or to continue improving as a basketball player in that situation?
It's harder to stay level-headed.
Okay.
It's not hard to improve as a basketball player. It's on the player.
Right, but but is there, because we've seen, it's a contract year, that's why he's playing hard, and then once he gets his contract, he doesn't play so hard.
Yeah.
Do we see that in the AAU stuff too, or no? The kids they're gonna still have to be in the gym and working.
They should be still in the gym working. Of course, we've seen some kids, take advantage of the stardom and not do what you're supposed to do. But we've been seeing that for centuries in all sports. I would hope that all the kids would want to get better and develop their game, because this is the thing. If it's for money, the kids have to know that you can get more money the better you get. The better you better yourself. You're gonna, in the future, a lot of kids don't think of the future. Of course, you're a teenager, you're not thinking far ahead, 10 years from now. You know what I mean? So maybe you should go hard right now, because in 10 years from now, you can be the richest basketball player in the world. Mm-hmm. Some of these kids are, like I said, living in poverty, can't even think that far ahead. I just live for the now. Like, can't we just get the lights on in our house? Wow. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's a different thing,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we wrap up, just give us a brief insight into, like, what are you up to now? You were coaching, and you got out of that for now, and you are a recording artist. So what kind of music are you making?
I make hip-hop music, but I also write all type of musics. I just dropped a video called Kaepernick Effect, speaking on police brutality, in the streets of LA, where I come from, and the things that I've experienced, or some of the people that I grew up with have experienced. We end up going viral, Kaepernick liked it. Reggie Bush, I spoke to a whole bunch of NFL players, NBA players, musicians, stars. And my life has changed since we put that out. So for the people that's listening, I definitely feel like you should go ahead and give that a look and just get an understanding of what's going on right now today. I want to be able to continue to speak on the stuff that everybody's not speaking on and change some lives.
That's great. It's funny. I got into a conversation with a guy who was really opposed to what Kaepernick was doing and the whole NFL kneeling thing. And their reason for why they were kneeling was not why they're kneeling. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand why those people get to decide why he's kneeling. That's the weirdest thing to me. It's like he's clearly made his point, what he's doing and what this stands for. Yeah. And yet they've corrupted this thing to make it, against the flag, it's against the troops. I don't know how that happened, and that must be...
it's like you're contradicting yourself. How we're a free country.
Right.
But we're not a free country.
No.
And we see that. And these guys are role models. We put these guys out there, they have a platform. You're supposed to be able to use your platform. If it's in a positive way, this guy wasn't doing anything negative. He's just standing for what he believed in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if you can't use your platform, why give it to him?
Exactly. I love it. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming in the studio, Jag, to join us. And remember, if you want to find him, you can, type in Jag this on Instagram and find him there. Is that your main platform?
Yeah, that's my main platform. JAG, Instagram, JAG. And you can go on my Twitter as well as South Central Jag. South Central JAG.
All right. And then what about YouTube?
YouTube... Jag. Yep, just Jag. Jag.
All right, cool. We'll find you all really across there, and hopefully we'll cross paths again. I can't thank you enough for coming on. And
thank you for having me.
Hey, you got it. Don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Jag?
I'm in.
All right.